Okay, we are getting ready to do the centers on February's Kimberbell Cuties topper. Now, I am switched over to page 22, and this is where it goes through and tells us how to do the applique on this. So if you are doing the background quilting, it has the tan is the thread color that you're going to use for that one. And this particular design is for February and March. So as we go through and you see the thread colors that are used, you will see a pink and a green. The pink is for February, the green is for March. And so that's how you know what thread color. If you are not doing the background quilting, there's only one thread color that you need to use, kind of that sweet, warm pink. Okay, and if you are doing the background quilting, they want you to do that in a tan. So I'm going to put the tan on here as well. I have already sent over both the background quilting design and the applique design to my machine. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through the background quilting steps first. I'm going to take that fabric off. I showed you how to center the fabric in your hoop. Okay, I'm going to take that off now because that's what you would do if you're not doing the background quilting. So if you are not doing the background quilting, the way I showed you to center the fabric in the hoop is exactly what you need to do and get ready to go. I am doing the background quilting, so I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to know how to center it because the design is already centered in the hoop for me on the embroidery design. So when we're doing the background quilting, we're going to go through all of the steps for batting placement, batting tack down, fabric placement, fabric tack down. Then before we do the background quilting, we're going to jump ahead and go through all of the applique steps. Then we're going to go back to the background quilting design and let it do its background quilting all over the top of the applique. That is the instructions that are in the book to do that. I'm going to put a little clip right here to show you how to use Embrilliance software. It's only about 2 minutes, it's not real long, and show you how to merge those two designs and then reorder the steps so that when you save it, it saves in the order it needs to be in and you're not having to jump around. I'll put that right here. If you are doing the background quilting and you want to combine your two designs so that they are just one design, I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to do that. This is Embrilliance Essentials, and I've already pulled in the background quilting design, and we can take a look at it here by clicking on the plus sign in the objects panel, and we can see the batting placement line, batting tack down, fabric placement, fabric tack down, and final background quilting. According to the pattern book and instructions, the background quilting is done on top of the deck of cards applique. So I am going to come over to this other tab where I have the applique design in here, and I'm going to right click on it and copy, and then click over here and right click and paste. And you can see over here in the objects panel now we have, this is still the background quilting, and here is the applique that I just pasted in there. In order for the background quilting to happen on top of the applique, not on the words, but on the picture, grab it and drag it up and hover it over the one you want it to be after. So I'm just going to grab a hold of it with my mouse and pull it up and hover it over the fabric tack down line right here. And then after this stitches all of this, you can see now the last stitch of the background quilting has switched to object number 3 instead of being part of object number 1. And then that will happen afterwards. So now you have the combined designs in the right stitch order. I have my little piece of batting here, and your batting will have a smooth side and a little bumpy side. And they say that the bumps are like pimples and you don't want your pimples to show, so you would put the bumpy side down if your batting has that. And that's not necessarily a big deal in embroidery. It sometimes is in quilting, but here there's going to be so much going on over the top of it that you won't even really notice one way or the other. So I just have myself my little 5x7 piece of batting. I've put the hoop in. Now let me take you to the machine and show you what I've done. All right, so I'm going to touch embroidery, and I sent them over wirelessly, so I'm going to go to the pocket for memory, and I'm going to touch the wireless icon. If you have them on a USB, you would put that in the side of the machine and you would touch the universal symbol for USB in order to pull up your designs. So that's pretty much standard on every hoop. All right, so here is the background quilting and here is the card trick block. So I'm going to touch the background quilting and I'm going to hit set. And now I want to hit add. And I'm going to go memory, wireless, and my card trick block, and hit set. So these have centered themselves in the hoop. And we are ready to go. They are in the correct order. You can see here, I've got the background quilting first and then the card trick block. And once again, we will go through all of the steps except when we get to the background quilting, we're going to skip over that and then jump ahead and finish out all of our applique. And then go back to this step and finish it up. So I'm going to hit embroidery. And I've got a preview window right here. It tells me it's going to go ahead and stitch the placement line for my batting. I've got the green button, so I'm just going to press go. I have my tan thread in there. I have a 7511 organ needle in the machine. I am using Dime's Exquisite thread, and I have a Dime pre-wound 70 weight bobbin in the bobbin case. I went a little skimpy on my batting, but I'm going to make it. So I'm just going to place it over it and make sure that the threads are covered side to side, top and bottom. And I think that that'll work. Again, if you are not doing the background quilting, you will not be doing these steps just yet. Okay, now you want to remove the hoop and get some curved embroidery scissors. These are gingers. These are, they have a nice shape that let you get into the hoop right here, and they have a curved bottom and they prevent you from cutting your stitches. These are probably like 10 years old. You guys don't go cheap on these. They are worth every penny. The cheap ones will hurt your fingers. Okay. Now what you want to do is you want to trim away your batting, and you need to do it on a firm surface in your lap. This is a June Taylor cut and press. So it has a cutting board on one side and an ironing board on the other, and I love this one. And you want to trim right next to the stitch line. And you want to have bigger batting so that you can have something to grab a hold of while you're cutting. Just try to get as close as possible without cutting your stitches. And put the hoop back in the machine. Now it's going to do the placement line for the fabric. And what you can do now is, just like I did before, you can fold your fabric in half and make sure that you have top and bottom pretty much even. If you want to mark center, you can. And let's see, this is about equal amount over the stabilizer. And you want to put your half center in line with your marks. If you would like to, you could have drawn marks and extended them. It might be easier for you to do that, okay? And then you would do the fabric tack down. Okay, the next stitch in our preview is the background quilting. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the needle plus minus button down here at the bottom of the screen. It's right there. And I'm going to jump ahead one thread color. Your machine might have a little spool on it, but this needle plus minus panel is very important. It lets me do -1 stitch or go ahead 1 stitch, -10 plus 10, -100 plus 100, -1000 plus 1000, or you can go right back to 0 where you started. So I'm going to press the down arrow to jump ahead 1 stitch and click OK. Let's see, the one we just left was number 5. Now I'm going to come back over here and I need to do a thread color change to the pink. And how I do that is I will give myself some extra on the one that is coming off, and I'll take the other one, let me get it threaded through there. And all I do is I put the 2 ends together, just like this. I don't know if you can see them, but I've got the 2 ends together, and I just kind of twist them a little bit, and I tie them into a single knot and pull that through. I like my thread to go through the little thread guide that is actually for the bobbin. And then I reach in front of the needle. I'll pull, unthread the needle and grab the old thread and just pull it all through, just like this, until my tails come out. And now the machine has been rethreaded with the new color. All right, the very next stitch is a placement line for fabric number 2. So here's where you might get confused. This says stitch the card 1 placement line and place the card 1 fabric right side up. Card 1 fabric is actually fabric 2. And so we have to go back to the centers. Fabric 2, okay, is the one that is directional with the little squiggly lines. But they have a picture of it here to show you that it's the one with the squiggly lines so you don't get confused. And you want to pay attention to the picture so that you put it the same way that they show. And they are putting it sideways like this. So this is kind of at a diagonal. That's exactly what they're showing. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and then hit the button and stitch the tack down line. Okay, you want to remove the hoop and trim the fabric away from the placement line using your curved scissors. Put the hoop back into the machine and stitch the placement line for the next piece. This is the next fabric, and it doesn't matter which way you put it down. Just make sure you cover the entire placement line and then press the button and stitch it down. This is very easy. Okay, you need to trim the fabric away from the placement line. The next stitch is the card 2 decorative stitch, and it's the same color for all of them, it looks like. So it's going to cover the outside of that trim line. I didn't cut it close enough, so I am going to stop the machine. I'm going to press my scissor button. Okay, I would recommend when you're cutting these, take your fingers, once you think you've trimmed it, take your fingers and scrape it up as much as you can and trim it real close, because that decorative outer stitch is not very thick. And you don't want little frays sticking out from under that. You want to get really, really close on your trimming. And then I'll just start it up again. All right, here's the placement line for the third card. The third card is this fabric. It doesn't like that heavy stitching in the center over and over. It has a whole bunch of knots in the same spot. That's the sound you hear. And remove the hoop and trim around the fabric. Placement line for the 4th card. Put your fabric and completely cover the placement line. Let me show you what I did. See that? So I did not put my fabric completely up to where it needed to be. When this happens, because it will happen, you can take another piece of fabric and put it completely over the whole design. You don't need to trim it away or anything. Looks like I creased that one. I'm gonna just take a scrap. This was leftover scrap, and I'm gonna run it again. Let me show you how that works. I'm gonna go back to my needle plus minus, and I'm gonna go up 1 stitch, and it went back to the tack down line on that 4th card, and I'm gonna run it again. So you've got 2 layers of fabric there. Nobody will be the wiser. I'm glad that happened, so I can show you how to fix that. Applique embroidery is very forgiving. Remove the hoop and trim away both layers of fabric, in my case. There we go. There's 2 layers of fabric under here, and nobody knows but you and me. It's our little secret. Put the hoop back in the machine and do the decorative stitching for the outside of card 4. Not happy. And now it's going to do the decorative stitching for the outside of card 1. Now I'm going to do a thread color change back to tan and get ready to do the background quilting. I'm going to tell it okay. All right, let's go back to the needle plus minus. So we want to go back to the needle plus minus button, and I'm going to jump ahead in my thread colors in my stitches until I get to my background quilting. And there it is. I can see it in the little preview right there, and I'm ready to go. And we are all done. So there's the finished block. Now we're going to trim it up to 5.5 inches square. So pop it out of the hoop. You want to take a ruler, and from the center point out, you want to measure out 2 3/4 inches. Let me turn it this way. So from center out, 2 3/4 right here, and you want to do that on all 4 sides. And you can use this line to keep it straight if you want. See, you don't want to do this. So this looks like it is 1/4 inch away from the seam line, so I'm going to measure 1/4 inch and 1/4 inch just to give myself some ideas that now I know it is lined up straight. And I'm going to take my rotary cutter and trim. Okay. Same on this side. Now this one is right next to the stitch line, so I'm just going to cut it right next to the stitch line straight. I can see the stitch line through the ruler. Same for the other side, right next to the stitch line. I have it equal distance away all the way through. Okay. And then this one is 1/4 inch away, 1/4 inch away, and 1/4 of an inch to make sure I am straight. There we go. And my block is 5.5 inches square, exactly like it's supposed to be. So that's how you do the first one, and you need to make 3 more of these, and then we will sew them together. If you want to make multiples of these, I showed how to do that in the January topper video, and I used embrilliance to do that. Or if you have a machine like the Luminaire, you can certainly add them in one after another and use the camera system to line them up in your large hoop.